Hi, I'm Maria Thea Harris or Velo Sews on social media. Welcome back to Sober 50s podcast on Sew Organized Style. Grab a cuppa, support this podcast on Patreon and relax with us. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube or listening on your podcast app, please like and subscribe to Sew Organized Style podcast. Becoming a Patreon supporter of the podcast is only a few clicks away too. Sarah and Kelsey agreed to come on to the podcast today to talk about Sew Pittsburgh. Let's watch and listen to Kelsey and Sarah now. Thanks for joining us on Sober 50 podcast. Today we've got Sew Pittsburgh ladies. So we've got Kelsey who started, she's waving at the moment, for Sew Pittsburgh, and Sarah who has been instrumental in some community building with Sew Pittsburgh. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited. No pun intended. A little bit about Sew Pittsburgh. So I started sewing in 2018 after fits and starts of sewing off and on in my growing up. My mom, she taught me a little bit how to sew, but she isn't really a sewing person herself. But I would just get very envious of other people who did know how to sew. And I was like, I got to learn how to do this. And so I finally got started in 2018. And then when the pandemic happened, beginning in 2020, like a lot of other sewists, you're at home and what do? You sew. And so coming out of the pandemic, I was here living in Pittsburgh, and I was like, you know what? I've met a lot of awesome people on Instagram who sew, and they're all over the world.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of cool events like frock tales and just, building that community. And I was like, I don't really know anybody here in Pittsburgh that sews, but I bet there's at least 4 people or something.
Yeah.
And so I put something out on Instagram, and I created the Sew Pittsburgh Instagram account, and it kind of blew up because there's just so many more people who are interested in sewing or quilting, or they haven't started yet, but they wanted to start. And I have a background in marketing and events, and so doing all of these sort of things came very naturally to me. So I started creating events just every other couple of months, like some frock tales events, or we did fabric swaps, or just a bunch of events to just kind of see who's out there and bring people together. And now it'll be 4 years of Sew Pittsburgh. Started this summer. We are at 1,500 people on Instagram, which is wild to me. And so Sarah, maybe you add how you got into the Sew Pittsburgh picture.
Yeah, absolutely. So I attended the second Frock Tales that Kelsey had put on, which was a tea party, where we all wore our finest tea party outfits. I've been a sewist for a long time. So back when I was like 10 years old, I was watching my mom do a lot of sewing. She got me connected to one of her good friends that was just a master quilter, had a huge quilting studio in her basement, and she taught me to quilt. So it's first totally by hand, even like hand piecing, and then eventually into larger projects a lot. She taught me so much about using a sewing machine and cutting and all that. I really owe a lot of my sewing skills to Norma. She sadly passed away not too long ago. That was really great, and it was great to have that connection to another woman not in my family necessarily. Like I was learning from my mother too, but to kind of have this like community elder in the quilting community and to learn that from was really a special experience. So I did that probably through like early high school, and then I got distracted by other things. Throughout all that time, my mom made a couple of my formal dresses and stuff for like school dances. We never really worked on any apparel projects together. It was all the sewing I was doing was quilting, and then my mom did some of that like around the house and a couple special occasion projects. I largely like took a break from sewing after that. When I was in college, I didn't really have the space. And then even my early like adulthood had kind of gotten away from it. I would mend clothes and that sort of thing. When I was pregnant with my daughter, who's 5 now, I got inspired to do it again. I wanted to make her a quilt. Some of my friends were having children around that time. I wanted to make them quilts. So I got back into it that way. And then honestly, like finding Sew Pittsburgh on the Instagram was really inspiring to me to see what other people were doing. That was the first time I really considered doing apparel sewing, was when seeing what other people were doing. There are quilters. There are many proud quilters in Sew Pittsburgh. I'm not going to imply that there are not. I would say it's primarily people who are doing apparel sewing. So so my first event, I think that was probably like 2022.
Yeah, and
2023.
I was doing everything by myself and I was just
Mhm.
overwhelmed. And I had shortly put out a call like, hey, is anyone interested in helping me? Because like I'm kind of struggling. There was a point where
Yeah.
my husband can attest where I was like, I gotta stop this. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm too overwhelmed. And he very much has been an encouragement and advocate for the sewing world because he's like, no, like this is really cool what Sew Pittsburgh is doing. Like, you need to keep going. And so
Yeah.
when I put out a call of like, hey, is anybody available to help? Sarah was one of the very few people who did it. And she has now, over the years, we've just become very, very close friends. And she is like, I would say the most reliable person that I know. And anytime, we want to do something, like Sarah's the person to call. And I hope I'm the person to call for her.
Yeah.
And she brought this idea of using Discord to create an online community where people can chat in real time. Because like for me, I had never used it before. And that has grown tremendously. And it's so cool because people are making connections. They're building events and doing community things outside of the ones that we organize. Like it's just grown even more so because more people have the opportunity to
interact. It was that kind of at that point when I was early in my involvement where Kelsey was feeling like, oh, there's so much pressure to hold lots of events. Like, how do we balance this, the amount of work that it takes for us to organize this group and the community building that is really people are inspired to do. And so I think that Discord really helped us do that. An online community where people could come at any time, could ask any question, could share trials and tribulations with each other in their sewing. So it's not nearly as large as our Instagram community. That's more kind of just outward facing. But the people who make it into the Discord community, which is open to everyone, have places where they can swap fabric, they can ask for advice, talk to each other about different patterns. There's a very strong quilting community on there, and also historical sewing community, two kind of niches in our group. And like Kelsey implied, the quilters have actually started organizing now and hold monthly meetups, just like totally through the Discord. One of the members hosts at their house. So it's taken on a life of its own and really helped us foster the community aspect of Sew Pittsburgh that we really wanted to bring to this from the very beginning.
So, Sarah, my question to you is, and also to you, Kelsey, did you choose Discord because it's not affiliated to anything in particular? Why was Discord chosen?
Yeah, so I had some experience in other communities that had already been on Discord. So I'm also an avid reader. So I was part of some reading communities on there.
Yep.
I know a lot of gaming people use
I know.
Discord.
Yeah, it's originally kind of like a platform to like host forums and things for the gaming community.
Yep.
That's not how I got involved with it. Although my husband was like, "What are you doing on Discord?" I was like, "Oh, don't worry, sewing things,
Yeah.
not video game things." I know I'm a part of some other communities now, like the Curvy Coven, which is on WhatsApp, and so it's interesting to see how people are using other platforms too to like kind of be similar communities. But yeah, it was really just because I had some familiarity with it, so I felt like I could be the admin of something that I knew a little bit about.
And I had zero familiarity, so I was like, all right, I'll trust you there, Sarah.
And
Yeah.
do you do things like have moderators for various interests on the Discord group, or it
Yeah.
just runs itself?
I mean, it's a very welcoming and like open community.
Good.
We did
Yeah.
some ground rules around like what kind of behavior would be accepted and tolerated. Luckily, I've never had to really use it, but I am right now function as the moderator if need be. So I pay attention to make sure that nothing that's not promoting the community, right, is happening in there. But we've been lucky, I think, to not have anybody
Yeah.
come in and disrupt that.
Yeah, and Sarah does a very good job of managing all of that. I manage more of the Instagram stuff and that external facing,
Yep.
like the marketing and everything. So, Discord, I am still learning, and sometimes I forget to log in, or I'll just see all the notifications on my phone. And I'm like, well, I'll look at that later. Because people can be very active on there, and yeah, and especially here in the United States with Joann Fabric closing, it's almost like a daily watch of like, oh no, which store still has fabric, which one has the big sales happening right now. So people are staying informed through that way.
Yeah, because that's a big change. The outward facing events, shall we walk through those for this year? What's happened and what's about to happen?
Sure, yeah. So let's see. Our first event of the year, which is arguably probably our biggest one, is was our Frock Tales
Oh,
event.
don't forget, we had one at the very
Oh
beginning of
yeah,
the year.
The
we
beginning.
actually yeah. So we actually did have one in January,
Yep.
right at the very beginning, where it was a big sewing resolution, and we had this like fun like sewing bingo card that everyone could fill out of like what are their goals for the year. Oh, mine's hanging up.
She does. It's
I
right.
could go.
It's
Bring it
right
over.
here.
All
There you
right,
go.
I'll go get it.
Yeah, it was a fun opportunity for people to set sewing resolutions for the year. We brought lots of like craft supplies and scissors and
Yeah.
markers and things, and
It's hard to
yeah.
read, but like on mine, it's like fix my iron or reduce my fabric stash. I wanted to repair an old make some Arthur pants, do a vintage pattern, things like that. And then I'm crossing off once I do them. And so we had quite a few people come, and some people even said that they thought it was going to be dumb, but then they actually really enjoyed doing it. So that was our first one. And then in March, end of March, we had our Frock Tales event, which was dream themed. And that was our big party of the year where
Yeah.
we had about 35 people come, and it's a ticketed event, but we try to keep the prices really accessible. We've done a lot of research on what other places do frocktails, but in Pittsburgh, we try to just keep it more affordable. We had a lot of desserts. We had a really cool custom cake. We had a tarot reader read people's tarots. We had a craft of making like these like dried flower sachets. We had a photographer take everybody's photos with like a photo booth sort of thing. And it was really fun. And then we had a fabric swap. We partnered with a organization here in Pittsburgh that is like a maker space, and
Yeah.
we had our fabric swap there, and that was really cool. It was a rainy, cold day, but we still had a lot of people come, and everybody loves fabric, and we partner with another organization. Pittsburgh has a lot of really cool maker organizations and nonprofits. And so we have a place called the Pittsburgh Center for Creative Reuse. And we partner with them for these swaps because afterwards, I've learned from experience, you have a lot of fabric afterwards. So the Creative Reuse place takes all the fabric and then they repurpose it and sell it in their shop. That was a great partnership to have because otherwise it's just living in my car.
Right. Fabric doesn't go to waste. The pieces that are too small can get recycled. The pieces that are big enough to sell get sold and go towards the mission of Pittsburgh Center for Creative Reuse. So it's a great partnership that we have. We also ask for donations for them at the event because of the work that they do to help us run it. At this year's swap, there was this great little moment where near the end, a mom and daughter came. The daughter was just having like the time of her life,
She
being
was like
able to,
10. She was
yeah,
little.
to look through all this fabric and to know that she could just take whatever that she wanted. And I could see on her face just the ideas and like all this stuff, and that
Yeah.
she could just let her mind go wild with inspiration, because there was no limit to what she could
Yeah.
kind of do in that space. And that was really great to see, because I think that that's what happens for us too as adults.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't react with quite so much childlike wonder, which, maybe
We
maybe
should.
we should, but I was like, oh, I want to know what she's gonna make
Yeah.
with all this stuff, even if it's it just her first couple projects. Like, how cool
Yeah.
would that be?
Yeah, well, and it's so cool because fabric swaps, like you see the fabric you bring and you see somebody else take it and you're like, wow, I wonder what they're gonna make, you know? You
Yeah.
know what? I also forgot we had another event in February, which was our sewing retreat. It was
We were busy. We've been
yeah,
busy
we've
this year,
had a
so
lot going on. Uh, and this was an amazing weekend. We did it in a resort that was like it's in West Virginia, so it was about a 2-hour drive from where we are here in Pittsburgh. And we had about I don't know how many people were there. 20?
About 20, yeah.
Yeah, and it was lovely. And we all had this huge meeting room space reserved, and everyone had their own long table, and they brought their stuff. And we had people. Our philosophy was, it's your time. If you want to sew until 2 in the morning,
Yep.
go for it. If you want to come in at 6 in the morning, go for it. And we just sort of had suggested, like, Sarah and I are going to go swimming at this time if anyone wants to
Yeah.
come, or we're going to go to dinner if anyone wants to be there. And the only Saturday night, we had a movie, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And so people could sew, and we projected the movie, and we had a popcorn bar with popcorn and all these fun snacks. But it was a really great time.
It was just a great reflection of the community that we've built. I would say at most of our events, about half the people who come are people who've been to many events. They're regulars. We know each other.
We're friends.
Talking about like what projects we're doing. And then the other 50% are people who've never
They're
interacted
new.
with the Sew Pittsburgh thing before. And it's great to see them, welcome them into the community. So the retreat was similar. So we had folks sign up to come on the retreat who have never participated in the Sew Pittsburgh event before, and they left like, best friends with
friends.
everybody
Good.
Yeah.
who had gone. So some people brought their partners, and some people came on their own, and it was a really great event that we'll I think do annually now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And I highly recommend for anybody. I mean, it doesn't have to be quite as organized as how we've done it, but like if anyone has the opportunity to just take a weekend away, get a rental in a hotel or Airbnb or wherever, and just like sew with a bunch of friends, like it is so refreshing and such a wonderful time.
It's totally worth it to cart your sewing machine around, even if it feels like work.
It is.
It's
worth it.
The fun that you'll have sewing with your friends.
Yeah. And we designed these custom sewing labels that said like Sew Pittsburgh Sewing Retreat 2025. And so everyone had those to go in their projects. And we'll do that again next year, but for 2026. And
even the quilters put them like on their quilt. People making clothes put them in their clothes. So
it was really great. And then for the rest of the year, our next event, we were like, let's take it easy on ourselves. So our next event's going to be like a picnic, where we're just going to hang out. And then also this summer, we're hoping to do a sew along for swimsuits. If people want a swimsuit or a cover up, and we'll go to a pool and just hang out.
Yeah. And then we'll probably have another fabric swap sometime later in the year. And then we usually end up with some kind of like Halloween themed meetup
or holiday thing. It depends on how our years shape out for both Sarah and I, because we're both very busy people. But we try to have something at least every quarter.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. But it sounds like you're both loving it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's so good to have a partner to do all this together because otherwise one person can't do it all. I mean, yeah.
And there's if you probably noticed, there's a definite theme to the kinds of events that we want to do, and that we give us energy, right, into So Pittsburgh. And it's really those that bring people together to just like
Mhm.
have fun, and celebrate this hobby that we all have. There's so many great organizations doing trainings and workshops and that sort of thing, and we like amplify those and get the word out about those as much as we can. But we are not trying to run those kinds of things
Yeah.
ourselves.
Mhm.
We want to give these people who are often in this solitary hobby of
Yeah,
sewing, where you're just at home by yourself, a chance to build community with other people who do it.
Yeah.
And so that's really, if we're trying to decide like, should we do this event or not, we go back to that
Yeah.
mission of community building
Yeah.
to help us decide.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes we get questions from people saying like, "What's your membership fee?" or do you have like official structure?" And it's like, "Nope, we're pretty chill. Just come hang out with us, make friends." I mean, this is one of like I take a lot of pride in the events that we have are ones where you can come alone
mm,
and you don't have to be scared or anxious about coming by yourself because everyone is so kind and friendly. Like it's hard to go to something by yourself sometimes. And we work really hard to make sure that this is a welcoming environment for anybody, whether they have been to a million So Pittsburgh events or have never heard of us ever.
that's good. I mean, you don't need to have a lot of structure, but this is something that you're both doing on a voluntary basis. You're not being paid. So it has to mean something for you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very true.
yeah. Because you've got your work lives and your home lives to manage, as well as So Pittsburgh, which is
We
a
have to
lot
have
of
our own
work.
time to sew. When are we going to
Yeah,
sew?
we gotta learn. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And I think the other good thing that, Sarah, you mentioned is that on Discord, it's not just apparel sewing, it's all types of sewing that the members who are on there are discussing amongst themselves with, all of the energy and the enthusiasm that they have for what it is that they're sewing. So, Kelsey, if someone out there is thinking about developing a group in their, say, state or their city, what advice would you give them?
Starting small is always a good beginning strategy because sometimes you just don't know what's out there and it grows through that word of mouth. So I would say that if someone wanted to start with like getting people together, don't be disappointed if only two people show up. I mean, we've had things where no one comes and it's
Yeah.
just Sarah and I hanging out, and that's fine too. I think having a partner to do something helps make it all easier. Making sure that you stay abreast of what your community is interested in
Yeah.
matters a lot too. We've done a lot of trial and error of, oh, this event sounds fun. Oh, nobody wants to come. Okay, so maybe doing XYZ is better than ABC. So just, I think if you want to become a community and you want to be a resource, you have to listen to the people in that community and make sure that you are helping make those needs happen rather than just what you think maybe is what people are interested in.
Mhm.
And of course, if anyone is ever interested in talking directly, they can feel free to message the So Pittsburgh account at any time, and I'd love to chat and give advice.
Another part of it that comes to mind for me is leveraging the spaces that are already made for
Mm,
community. So a lot of our events happen in our local libraries, or other community spaces. So that helps us keep the cost low,
yeah.
and it's just part of our goal. And also like people are already there, and often
Mm,
the people who we're trying to engage are already in those spaces. So it really has helped us. Almost all of our fabric swaps happen in libraries. This last one happened with in partnership with another organization. But I'd say that's, if there was somebody starting out, like to leverage those spaces would really be a good place to go. And then also do events that are exciting to you, the person organizing it, because you're putting so much of your own time and energy into it that it has to be something that you're excited about doing, because otherwise you'll just burn out.
For sure.
And not want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're doing both, be open to listening to what the community wants, but then also make sure that it's something that you also want to do.
Yeah, it's a Venn diagram. For sure.
So, Kelsey, what's on your sewing table at the moment before we finish up? And I'll ask the same of Sarah.
Well, I just finished pattern testing a shirt for Silver Saga Patterns, and it is called the Celine top, I think, and it's very cute, and I'm very excited to make another one probably. And then based on the fabric swap, I planned on getting 0 fabric because I was
Never
like,
works.
no, and I got so much fabric that I think I might actually start my first ever quilt. So I'm excited and nervous. I might make it for my little baby nephew for his birthday, or keep it for myself. That's for me, Sarah.
So my daughter's 5th birthday is coming up here next month, and I've so far made her a birthday dress for every birthday. So that's next on the agenda. She's picked out the fabric. I've used some published patterns before, but this time I'm going to try my hand at drafting her. Not anything very complicated, but just a little short sleeve bodice and then a circle skirt. So, maximum swoosh and twirlage for her birthday dress. So, that's next on the list for me.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Like you've both got projects that are on your sewing table that you're really excited about doing.
Yeah,
totally. I think that's what's key. You gotta follow the fun.
Kelsey and Sarah, thank you for coming onto the podcast of Sew 50. Sew 50 does a lot of things for the sewing community, and it's really obvious to me that you both are doing a lot of things for the sewing community in Pittsburgh.
Well, thank you so much for having us, and big thank you to, I would say, the Instagram community in general for sewing, because, I mean, if not for Sew Over 50, not for all of the groups that are out there that are doing such good work to connect everybody, that has been so inspirational for us. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to get off of the app and do it in person. So it's really, sewing people are the best.
they are.
They are. Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode of Sew 50 podcast on Sew Organized Style was both video and audio produced by me, Maria Thea Harris, in my sewing room, with permission of Kelsey and Sarah at Sew Pittsburgh. Sound by Knief on YouTube. Many thanks for the ongoing support of the podcast Patreon contributors. Their membership each month enables me to create these video and audio podcasts for you for free. You can subscribe to Sew Organized Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to our free Sew 50 podcast archive on Sew Organized Style. Direct message Sandy and the editors at Sew 50 on Instagram to contribute to the ongoing posts and challenges the team promotes to the community of over 53,000 followers. I look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.